Captain Joe Shoes. Welcome to the conversation.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I learned about you through the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. You are a big personality on that show. And what I love about that show is it's sort of like the Howard Stern show, where all of the friends of the show have become their own characters, and they have, like, a lot of them have their own podcast now. You have a podcast. You have a lot of channels for people to check out. You even have your own show on their Patreon.
Yeah, I never expected that. I never expected to be part of anything they did. Everything was by mistake, by happenstance. It wasn't like I was ever petitioning to be a part of it. Brian was just my friend for years now. Since he got fired by WWE the first time, we worked the indies together a lot, and we became buddies basically because of the Mets. We're both Mets fans, and we had followed each other on Twitter. We never really knew each other. We kind of came up the same kind of time period, but him and Matt were on to WWE pretty soon, so we didn't really cross paths a lot on the indies beforehand. Mm-hmm. And then when the Major Pod started, it was one of these things like, hey man, give this a listen. Me and Matt are doing this. And I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, I think this is fun. And I genuinely enjoyed the show, and I was a wrestling collector for a long time, so it was up my alley, and I'm a collector in general. Not so much wrestling anymore, but other things. But mm-hmm. I still have so many good memories of collecting wrestling figures as a kid, and as in high school during the Attitude Era. I used to go on fig hunts with my best friend Armando, so that was like a big thing. Uh-huh. So, everyone's got those stories, right? You always had like the one guy who was like your wrestling toy friend that, no one looked down on you for. And that was my buddy Armando. We're still friends over probably 25 years now. But, I just happened to be at one of the live shows, and they just needed someone to fill a role, and I was Yokozuna. And then the next time it was like, hey, can you do that again? And I was like, okay. And then it was, just different things, and I just happened to be there.
The last live show they had was here in Orlando in January or February, around there, early in and you had a great spot with Tony Nese. You had a pose down. You each ripped your shirts off, and they had the oil everywhere. and he chased, or you like conga lined out of there? Yeah.
We've been kind of accustomed to. I kind of get beat up at every show, and we wanted to do something different. Really, I should say, Matt and Brian really wanted to do something different. I guess they were just tired of me getting beat up. Because when I did the Yokozuna the first time, it was D'Lo Brown beat me up. Uh-huh. Then the second time, I actually beat up Rory Fox. Then the third time, I think I got beat up by a fish sandwich.
Okay, there you go.
I tried to eat the Jimmy's UFO seafood sandwich. It's like a 7-pound sandwich.
Yes.
And food won that day.
Yeah,
but I'd done spots with Tyler Breeze. Last WrestleMania weekend at the Live 12 was Dolph Ziggler, which was like, it's so funny to me because I'm in my 40s now, and I've been in and around wrestling since 2001. I was 19 years old when I got into the business, and I kind of thought I was like completely out. I have like my real life job. I have my real life friends. And, I still have my friends within wrestling, but I was okay with being out. I never was like trying to get back in or trying to cling to life within the wrestling world. And then last WrestleMania weekend, I'm doing a spot with Dolph Ziggler, who's been the world champion like 75 times. And I'm just like, what a weird life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I also, my dream growing up was to be a pro wrestler. And I think around 2002, my first year in college, I went to school. I did it, but silly me, I didn't like think I had to get in shape or like anything. I was like, oh, I'll be a talker. Like I'm gonna be good on the mic. I won't have to do that. And like it just kicked my ass. And like those back bumps, you're like sick. It's like being in a car crash. And my body just couldn't do it. And but like, I'm always in the back of my head, it's like, all right, well, this year I'll just get in really good shape and it'll be a lot easier. Yeah. And it's like every year I kind of think that, but then it's like, all right, now I think I'm out. But then you have guys like Smart Mark Sterling, who just like has exploded on the wrestling scene. And he tells the story about like taking 7 years off from it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's a place for you in this business if you work hard enough and you make a place for yourself. Like not everyone is going to be a traditional John Cena wrestler.
And Mark says it really well too, because it's not something you ever really give thought to, but if you just love wrestling, there's a place for you. And maybe it's not in the ring, but maybe it's in production somewhere. Maybe it's doing social media stuff. The business itself is so big. Maybe it is hosting a podcast. There's so many branches. It's not just about the in-ring product. Of course, that's what we think of because that's what you see, right? You don't see all the people backstage making this happen, but you can't do anything without all of these people. Even like the major pod shows. Yes, obviously it revolves, around Matt, Mark, and Brian, but it's the TTDs, the artist who brings all that stuff to life and becomes the visual aid for everything, especially before like you had like the Patreon video accompanying it. All you knew was TTD's artwork and his 8x10s and his logos and his t-shirts and the catchphrases and stuff. So he brought like a vision to what was an audio podcast. It's Kinnick doing all the work for the merchandise and getting that out and lugging it around and setting it up. Back in the day, they had a guy, David C. Anderson, who really started as a fan, and pretty much we all started as fans of the pod and just ended up working with it. But David C. would come and run the list and work the door, and all these people contributed, and you may know them, you may not know them, but they all have a role in making these shows happen and making the brand a thing.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with Kinnick on one of the other podcasts, and he talked about how he did the t-shirt promotion where you bought a t-shirt from Matt and Brian, and they would call you and have a conversation, and he like pitched an idea for something.
I think it was foam fingers.
Yeah, foam finger. Okay, so then he just created that relationship with Matt, and then they connected, and look where they are now. They've started an action figure brand.
It's so funny because like now, like Kinnick and Matt are legitimately friends now at this point. Obviously, it's a business relationship first, and they're partners in the Bendy's company, and Kinnick handles the merch, but they are buddies. And Kinnick is a guy, I never met Kinnick before. Like, I talk to Kinnick every day now. He's like one of my close friends. It's so weird. TTD, I love TTD. It's a guy from England. I would have never met TTD in my life. And now he's come to the 2 live shows in Orlando. We've hung out. We've gone to Disney. We've stayed up late having a couple beers and just talking about life and families. It's so crazy. And I love that stuff because now when I do these shows, it's so much about like, I'm just going to hang out with my friends. And it's like Brian's been a friend for a while, and that's cool. And now Matt has become a friend, Mark as well. I really didn't know. I knew of them. We have a lot of mutual friends in common, but I really didn't know Mark or Matt really until I kind of started doing all this stuff with them. But like even like Kinnick and Tim Sterling now, who does a lot of the production work behind the scenes. Swaggle's like one of my close buddies now, which is so weird because I never even met Swaggle until the first live show I was at, where I left him in front of the elevator for everyone to see.
On the luggage cart?
Yeah, that was me. I had known him for about 3 hours at this point.
Nice. He made him a lot of money with that t-shirt.
Well, he was like, he hated it at first, but then saw he was making money out of it, and he was like, all right, I guess this is okay.
We talked about Major Bendy's. We got to talk about the latest announcement. WonderCon, they're going to have exclusive figures, new molds for Brian, Matt, and Mark. And first time in the line, Spencer Powers, a.k.a. Pixel Dan. So Spencer Powers, or I should say you know the man behind Spencer Powers.
I've never
Pixel
met Spencer
Dan.
Powers,
you never met Spencer Powers. Pixel Dan, he's sort of like our, we definitely respect him, but he's like our rival. Our podcast rival. But what is he like in person? Because we always say like he's like, there's no way that he's legitimately this positive as he comes off on his YouTube video.
So my first interaction with Pixel Dan, now take into account, I'm a big Masters of the Universe guy myself. So I've been following Pixel Dan for a long time, really since Masters of the Universe Classics was out. Now we're going back like 15 years, which sounds kind of ridiculous to think about how far time has gone. But he was the first person I ever saw doing like YouTube unboxings. And at the time, I was so financially, I could not get in with Masters of the Universe Classics. So my link to that line was watching Pixel Dan videos. you know, and I follow him on the socials, and he's just always so positive and stuff. And I tend to be cautious around those types of people. I don't really trust them. It's the New Yorker in me, I guess.
Exactly. Yep. And
then we had an interaction on Twitter where he had posted something. He was looking for a box for the Spider figure, the vintage Masters of the Universe Spider, which was like this giant battery-powered mechanical spider. Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite all-time action figures. I got it for my birthday when I was 4 years old. And when I got back into collecting vintage MOTU, it was one of the first things I bought. I got it at like one of those live Facebook auctions, really cheap, with a good box. It's new in box, but not sealed box.
Sure.
But I have this box, and he's looking for it because he was in the process of putting together his book at the time, The Toys of Masters of the Universe, and he needed a good-looking Spider box to take pictures of. And I shot him over some pictures. I was like, hey, if this is good, I have it. I can send it to you, whatever. He's like, bro, that'd be great, whatever. Send it out. Fast forward a couple months, the book comes out. I get a special thanks in the book, and I'm like, oh my God, like my name is on some real genuine Masters of the Universe product. That's like amazing. 3-year-old me would be doing cartwheels right now. Uh-huh. And I'm at PowerCon in 2021. It was the last one they did out in Anaheim. And I had just done the late night trivia contest. I came in second place, and my girlfriend at the time and I were in the elevator going back to our room. We're in the elevator with Pixel Dan. And Pixel Dan's like, hey, man, you did great out there. And, you know, you were really fun. I was like, oh, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate you putting my name in your book. I was the guy with the Spider box. And he's like, oh, no way. So we start talking, and he's just like a very nice guy. And now I've gotten to know him a little bit more because we've done like these MOTU Mania videos with Dave Wonder, who's a comic book artist who kind of puts these together. And just, you know, he got to wrestle Matt, and he's got this bendy figure coming out. So we've crossed paths a couple times, and I did have him on my podcast for the Major Pod Network. And what you see in the YouTube videos is not really an exaggeration of the real person. He is that excited about these products. He is that happy that they're coming out. Mm-hmm. You know, I say it all the time, like, I'm 40 years old and I still get to go to Walmart and buy He-Man figures. That is amazing to me. I love that.
Yeah.
And he's very grateful for like the spot he's in because like he makes money off talking about toys. Like, it's amazing. Right. It's great. Yeah. So he's very appreciative of that. And he's very grateful, and he's very just a positive person in general. Like, the real Dan is a positive person. Mm-hmm. So I get why, to an extent, people often call him like a Mattel shill, but it's not put on. It's not an exaggeration. He's not doing it just to appease people at Mattel. He genuinely does have that level of excitement for all these things coming out.
Yeah, I think part of it, and this is sort of why we play with him the way we do, is everyone needs a villain. Like, if you have a gripe with something, you need there to be someone to blame for it. And when you have these giant faceless companies, it's hard to blame anyone specific. Yeah. But Dan puts himself out there. He's willing to do it for the brand, and, you know, people take him up on that.
Yeah, whether, you know, fairly or unfairly, when you are kind of in that position, I mean, you look around the toy guys on the internet, like, Dan is pretty much in a top spot, right?
Right, exactly.
You know, how many guys are really at that level? There's a couple I can think of, but Pixel Dan is a brand name at this point within that little realm we exist in. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't work for Mattel. He's not sculpting the figures. He's not, he's no say in any of that, but people treat it when they're unhappy with something like it's his fault. And he bears a lot of the brunt for that, fairly or unfairly. Yep. When you're in that position, I guess it's part of the job almost, but you know, he handles it very, very well, because I don't think I could do that. You start attacking me over my review on the Snout Spout figure, and I'm going to basically cuss you out, block you, you know, wish horrible things upon your ancestors.
That's definitely one thing you could say about Dan, is he doesn't punch back. Like, if you go at him, he's either just going to ignore it or be like, how can I help you, sir? Like,
Yeah,
he doesn't
has,
he
like,
doesn't
the
fight in the
hostage
mud.
Negotiator,
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's like he's trying to de-escalate the situation.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, he wants the line to be successful, so he wants people to be fans of it. He doesn't want to turn anybody off from MOTU or anything that Mattel does.
Now, to his credit, when there is legitimate issues, he does address legitimate issues. With this recent Dungeons and Dragons line, and it's not something I'm collecting, so I'm seeing all of this secondhand, but the figures were breaking as soon as you were taking them out of the package. I think it was they're having problems with the arms. Like, what do you do about that? You know, it's not something you can hide. It's not something, but you know, you have to address it. And instead of just being like, oh, F this and screw them, and you know, he has a more tactful approach to it. But you know, obviously that's a quality control issue, and it needed to be called out.
We've talked a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the things I brought up is that this was somebody within the company's way of showing how damaging the plastic free packaging is, because if you've seen these hanging in stores, they're just cardboard. Like they make it look like it's a bubble, but it's a square piece of cardboard. So it's like there was so much breakage with these toys. It was almost like someone at Hasbro was like, let's break all of them. And then when people get them, they're all going to be broken. And they're going to say, well, if I could have seen the toy before I bought it, I would have known. Right. But obviously that's just a conspiracy. But we like to get into conspiracies on this show. Man, toy conspiracies.
I love the idea of plasticless packaging. I get
for the
it.
environment.
I love the environment.
I love the trees.
I want it to stick around for as long as possible. But I remember the first time I saw the cardboard only packaging on the shelves, and I was just like, but what is this? And that's, you know, that's an entitlement, and that's, you know, I'm old, and it's almost like an okay boomer thing at this point.
No, I don't think so. I've never thought that, because this is just the way the toys have been presented. Yeah. It's like, I'm not buying a puzzle. I like the sculpt and like the design. That's part of the package. Like, I don't have to open this. I want to keep it. I want to present it as a mint on card, mint in box toy. That's the way I collect. And I can't do that right now from anything from Hasbro.
Yeah, even like I've traditionally been a mint in box collector. So now when I see these things, and it's like, I guess you can get some of them autographed, but like, it's the figure, right? Like, we all grew up playing with figures. It's the figure that's the appeal. Yes, the packaging has a lot to do with it. The presentation, the background carding, the artwork. I say all the times, one of the biggest reasons I got into Masters of the Universe was the artwork on the packaging of the vehicles and playsets and accessories, because you had these wonderful, wonderful designs on there where even if you don't know the characters of Masters in the Universe, you already knew, just from looking at that picture, who was a good guy, who was a bad guy.
Right.
You know, you had in your head already, okay, like if I get to take this home, I know how to play with it already. You know, and to not be able to almost appreciate the fruits of the labor there. Yeah. You know, it's
not a complete package anymore.
It doesn't feel like
it's just weird.
It feels like you're just missing out on something.
It's just not complete, and then there's no way to make it complete, because you either open it and then it's like you have this empty box. Do you keep the empty box? I don't know. It's just weird. I don't like it. I understand why.
Yeah, I get it.
But
I wish there was a better way or a more economical way to do this. But
use science. Make like edible plastic or something. Like they like went right to no plastic. They didn't even try other things.
It's like in not The Walking Dead, The Last of Us, that was just on HBO. Yeah. Where at the end, Joel tells Ellie, like, oh yeah, they couldn't find a cure, so whatever, they're done.
Yeah, they gave up. They're like, we're going home. They didn't watch you.
Well, thank you, scientist. Like,
I believe you. So your connection, well, we were talking about the mini comics and the artwork. You have another connection to the MOTU world. Tell us about that.
I'm a character in one of the mini comics. Magistrate Joe Shoes was a character created for the mini comic that was packed in with the Coldar Mattel Creations exclusive figure. That was one of these things that through the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, I've got to interact with a bunch of people from Mattel and with, you know, within the toy industry. And once again, it's so weird to me because, like I said, I was completely out. I was just being a normal person. And the first time we did Mark Sterling invited me on to do an unboxing with Robert Rudman from Mattel for the Masters of the WWE Universe line. We did a couple of these videos when the new waves would come out. And it was just so weird to me to be sitting there with Robert because it's like one of the gatekeepers of my biggest fandom. And it was like wild. And then we got to do a couple of these and Robert and I got to talking. We have a lot in common, big baseball guys. So we chat about baseball a lot. And then one day he just shot me a text message and he was like, hey, you should take a look at this. And it was our early sketch work, whatever, the basis of a mini comic. And plain as day, it was written Magistrate Joe Shoes. And I was looking at that going, oh, like, not once did I think it was real because, like, that's not something that happens.
Right.
So I just thought, like, he did it as, like, not a rib, but, like, something to pop me that I would be like, oh, this is really cool. Like,
if only it was real.
Yeah, like, exactly. And then he's like, yeah, like, this is gonna be it. Like, you cool with this? I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, like, I needed a name. And I said, what about this? And they were cool. And then, like, a week later, he sends me, like, a more updated version of it. And I was like, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but, like, because I know this can change at any time, but, like, this is just so cool to see. And he's like, no, dude, like, this is already cleared legal. This is already, this is something that's going to happen. So I had to keep that under wraps for probably close to a year before before the figure actually came out.
Yeah.
So when it did, and then I got to finally see the comic book, like, have it in hand, and the character is right on the cover page of the book. And then within the first page, if you open it up, He-Man says my name. He-Man says Magistrate Joe Shoes. And I'm going, my God, the He-Man knows my name. Like, the
I
He-Man.
I know him.
And then a couple pages later, he punches me in the face.
Oh, even better.
The He-Man punched me in the face. Me, this chubby little cub all stuffed with fluff from Queens. He-Man disliked me enough to punch me in the face. What a time to be alive.
Wow. Dream achieved.
It's one of those things, like, how does that happen? Like, like, that's not ever something I even of course, when you're a kid, like, and you're playing with your figures, like, oh, I'll be best friends with He-Man, and we'd go on adventures, whatever. But there's no, like, semblance of realism where, like, well, hey, one day they can name a character after you. Like, that's not even something I ever even hoped for, like, in my wildest dreams.
Right.
And you mentioned Kinnick before, so it's funny. Kinnick bought a bunch of the figures from Mattel Creations when they went on sale, opened them up, sent all the mini comics to, was it CGC, I think, grades the comics.
Oh, yeah.
So he got them back, and he gave, like, the best one that came back, he gave to me, so it's all slabbed. Nice. And it's got the label, Masters of the Universe, mini comic, blah, blah, blah. And it says, first appearance of Magistrate Joe Shoes.
Look at that. That's great.
It's one of the coolest things I have in my collection.
So now, obviously, the next step is we need a figure of Magistrate Joe Shoes.
So I say all the time, like, I don't politic for stuff. And I don't think of myself in a way where it's like, oh, like, I really need a Major Bendy. Like, no one's going to buy a Joe Shoes Major Bendy. Like, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But this one, I'm like, Mitch Mattel, big shoes here. If you need characters to keep this line fresh, this Masters of the Universe, or maybe you should think about doing some of these original mini comic characters. That might help keep the line afloat for another year or so. I know Toy Guru's saying it's shut down and stuff, but maybe a Magistrate Joe Shoes figure will help grease the wheels for Walmart for a little longer.
Right. Yeah, that's the exclusive Target's been looking for.
Yeah. Listen, if it ever I don't see, I mean, I could see where it's on the table because they do need, like, new characters and stuff to keep this line fresh.
You need your hammerheads, like Matt says, right?
Yeah, and it's not only that, but, like, we've gotten so many iterations of Masters of the Universe over the years that what is the draw for old collectors to continue to come back and basically buy the same characters over and over? you know, you see this Masters of the Universe Origins line. We got like that Frogmonger figure.
Right. From the sticker.
Yeah, like that. But that's cool. You know, with the Eternia, we got the Moat Monster, MOTU.
MOTU, yeah.
So we got that. Koldar was a figure that never been done in the line before. And even if you go into Masterverse and the Kevin Smith animated series, like Andra was a character that was like in one mini comic back in the day. So there is a need to kind of have these never before seen characters just to keep things a little bit fresh. And if it ever gets to that point, I mean, I don't even know like what my reaction would be, because it's listen, it's an honor and a blessing to be a part of that universe. It genuinely is, and I really don't know how to articulate it well enough. But the idea of being an action figure or having an action figure named after me, or I like, as someone who, you know, grew up in the 80s, played with, you know, was the action figure age, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's been such a major part of my life. The idea of that ever happening is just, like, I don't even think I'd be able to comprehend it until, like, it actually happens.
Have you done the Hasbro selfie series?
So I thought about it.
This is mine. You can see this, my Stormtrooper. I was really happy.
Came out pretty good.
Yeah, I was really happy. I got two of them. I got that one, and I got the Power Ranger. And I was, because some people, it didn't work so well. So I was saying, like, this program was made just for me, because mine came out really good.
Yeah, I did play around with it a little when they first announced it. I really wanted to do myself as a G.I. Joe. Yeah. And I figured if I could do myself as anyone's big G.I. Joe, 80s kid, you know? So all the trends of the 80s, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, G.I. Joe, I'm all about. Brave Star. I love Brave Star to this day.
Brave Star,
I revisit Brave Star way too much. Filmation Ghostbusters. Love Filmation Ghostbusters.
Now we're getting deep.
I listen, I'll take Filmation Ghostbusters. I don't have anything. So I would take Filmation Ghostbusters over real Ghostbusters any day of the week.
You get the hell out of here.
100%. What? 100%.
Over real Ghostbusters?
Oh, not even a contest in my mind.
Whoa. Oh, you might be the only one to ever say that.
I might be. My brother, I have a younger brother. He's 3 years younger. He was a big real Ghostbusters guy. So we had all those toys around the house as kids. Yeah. And they're phenomenal toy line, right? The Firehouse, Ecto-1, great stuff. Yeah. We never had any Filmation Ghostbusters because my mom would be like, no, like, we don't have it. We're not starting a new collection here. And
sure.
Like, oh. And then about 2011, Netflix put up Filmation Ghostbusters. And I was like, my God, I remember this. And I started watching. I was like, oh, this thing rules. And I went on eBay and I was like, maybe I always wanted to have like one full vintage collection mint on card. And I to this day, I still don't have that. But I was like, maybe Filmation Ghostbusters is the one I can do because it's not an overly abundant line. It's not like there's a million figures. It's kind of self-contained. I was like, maybe this could be the one I do that with. And I remember looking up stuff and at the time it was a little pricey for where I was financially. It wasn't really something I could dip into.
It is pricey, yeah.
You know, now in the decade that has passed since, it's even more so. But there were like a couple things in particular that were like real big money, big ticket items there where I was like, I don't want to get started on this because I know I'll never be able to finish it because of this one piece or this, you know. Yeah. So that's what kept me from doing that. But so the selfie series is how this started. Yeah. So I wanted to be a G.I. Joe character, but the only one they offered was Snake Eyes. And I hate Snake Eyes.
Or Lady J. Or Scarlet, I should say.
I was going to say Scarlet.
Scarlet, yeah.
I did consider being Scarlet for a while. I just don't think I have the hips for it.
Well.
Thankfully, they don't scan those.
Right.
But like, had it been Duke, I would have done it. And I'm not even like a big Duke fan. I'm more of like a Shipwreck, Dusty, love Dusty. Sure. Cobra Commander, obviously, but like you can't do that. But like, if you could do a Destro, because I always thought Destro was so cool, or a Serpentor, even Dr. Mindbender. Would be cool. Dr. Mindbender, like like put me in that gear with the cape and stuff. So I love the heels. I always have loved the bad guys because I always felt like the bad guys had such cool designs and cool like accessories and stuff. But the fact that it was always Snake Eyes, and and my hate is ridiculous when it comes to Snake Eyes. It's simply because of the fact that whenever they redo something new with G.I. Joe, the first person is always Snake Eyes. And it's like, there are so many different characters. Like, make someone else just when this only goes 3 waves because no one bought it. I just want someone different for one time. I don't need another Snake Eyes.
He's the Wolverine of G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
You always have to have him. Do you know why? Do you know why they did Snake Eyes and not Duke or someone else for Selfie Series?
I don't. Is there a reason?
There is a reason. If you look at the Ghostbuster figures, they painted their necks black, so they don't want to have to choose a skin color. If someone with a dark complexion gets it, they want it to match. And so Snake Eyes was the only one they could do.
Wow. Okay. It makes sense. It's still disappointing.
I know. It's like, I don't like the answer, but that's why. And I think, I don't know how well this has been doing because I'm expecting them to revamp it and like give you more options. I'm still waiting for that. I don't know if the year has passed yet. I feel like it was probably around Comic-Con that they did it. So like, I'm hoping that they're going to like redo it, give you more options, and then have the options to have like the skin tone showing, because like it looks so silly with the Ghostbusters with the turtleneck. Like that's not what they look like.
I've seen a couple people do stormtroopers, and I guess it makes sense now because like stormtroopers have like gloves and their arms are covered, so
right? They're really totally covered.
Yeah, so I never really considered that. It makes a lot of sense now. At Disney,
Mandalorian,
at the Animal Kingdom, I'm a Florida guy. They have a thing where you can make your own avatar figure. Yeah, and it does a scan, whatever. And I haven't done it. We did like a major pod company trip to Disney right after that live weekend. Yep, and that was like on our itinerary. Was Matt makes his avatar figure, and the tour guide we had was like, number one, this is going to take a lot of time, so you may want to cut that. But number two, he's like, honestly, it really doesn't come out all that great. That's
what I'm saying. There's no way that they can actually scan and produce your likeness. Like the Hasbro thing takes months. Yeah. Yeah, they're just not doing it in-house. Like, it's not happening. And now, if you go on the Tron ride, you can get a Tron action figure, and it actually projects your likeness within the figure. Really? So it's like a photo, but it's projected, and then it has your voice as well.
I haven't been on Tron yet. I just got a notification a few hours ago saying, if you show up, make sure you join the queue. And I was like, okay.
No, the virtual queue,
Time to make some plans.
Yeah. This weekend is WrestleMania. Yeah. And I know you're not like a current like wrestling guy.
You know what's funny? You say that.
Yeah. Okay.
But Baby is going to his first WrestleMania this year. This guy.
You're going.
Never been to a WrestleMania before.
Whoa.
When WrestleMania 20 was at Madison Square Garden, that was like, I was at peak fandom at that point. And I was like, there's no way I'm missing WrestleMania 20 at the Garden. No possible way. And like a month before, like the announcement even, my buddy was like, oh, we're going to plan a big spring break trip to Cancun. You want in? I'll make the plans. I'm like, yeah, great. Sign me up. He made the plans for WrestleMania weekend that year. So I did not get to go to WrestleMania 20. And at that point, I was already in the business. And I said, you know what? If I didn't get to go to this WrestleMania, I will never go unless I'm working the show. And I can't quite divulge why I'm going this year. I'm not working the show, but I'm... Like
Undertaker needs an opponent.
It's not like I'm gonna be part of Charlotte's entrance, like putting palm down for the Queen to walk on or anything. I'll just be there in the crowd, but it's I'm doing something else this weekend that is part of it is going to WrestleMania Night 1.
Very cool.
So I'm excited. Like I tend to downplay the wrestling stuff, but it's one of those things, like it's an experience, right? It's WrestleMania. Like the reason we're all here is because of things like WrestleMania, and it's been such a major part of my life. And I used to like have all my friends over to the house, and we always had to dress in costume. I used to do the costume parties for WrestleMania. Nice. So it's to think that I'm going and I'm like being brought, like I'm not. I didn't even like wait online to pay for tickets. It's so weird.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. If you're going to do it on the freeway.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. No lines, no waiting. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Captain Joe Shoes, where can people see your stuff?
Oh man, I'm everywhere on social media at The Joe Shoes, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. YouTube.com/Joe Shoes for my eating food review videos, and every now and then I'll throw up some Masters of the Universe unboxing videos here and there. You know, I'm not trying to be Pixel Dan. It's just if I get something new and cool, I'm like, oh, this would be cool to show off. That's
the world doesn't need another Pixel Dan. We're full. We're good.
I get excited about my stuff too. Like, there's a reason I'm buying it. You know,
sure.
It's not like Mattel's sending this stuff to me. I'm nobody. Right. But also, Car Jomez podcast every Thursday, wherever you get podcasts, or on YouTube. It's a general pop culture podcast to talk about recent movies, TV shows, you know, sports. It's really just the buffet of pop culture goodness. So it's me and my buddy Gomez, so you can check that out literally anywhere.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for joining us on The Conversation.
Anytime, my man. Thanks for having me.